After 20 years of building together through dust, deadlines, and damn good ideas, Pace and Adam invite you to join them for honest conversations about the home building world. Welcome to Build Connected, where experience meets insight, powered by Diamond Home Restoration.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Build Connected. I am Adam and we have...
And I'm Pace.
Back from vacation. Back in his home office. Wow, there is a large pile of boxes behind you. If you're not watching this and you're listening, some might say, what's going on back there? And that's a whole can of worms that maybe we don't want to dive into right now, but we will at some point in this podcast career.
I do not know what you're referring to. I do not see anything.
Cliffhanger, everybody. We'll get back to that at some point. Not today.
Not today. It's good to be back, though. It's going to take all of today to get my head slightly back into work mode. Yeah, you know the deal. Let's jump in. Let's talk about something interesting. I'm going to call it product related. I'm going to talk about flat pack items. So, when I say flat pack, think IKEA, think big box, right? Something that needs to be assembled. I feel like oftentimes on a job, a homeowner will purchase something, usually online, and they'll see the savings for that item because it's flat packed. And there is a real savings if you, the homeowner, put that together. But if you expect your your contractor to put that together, there's a cost, right? There's very frustrating labor involved in putting something like that together. Usually it's a couple hours. And it's usually horrible directions. Oftentimes there's a missing part, but it's just time, and time equates to money. So it's a very broad topic, but it feels like this is something that not every job, but every few jobs we have an item that needs to be assembled.
Yeah, I think you're referring mainly to like a kitchen cabinet flat pack scenario, right? If you look up inexpensive kitchen cabinets online, you're going to find, those flat packaged kitchens, and they're less expensive. But yeah, like you said, you can certainly save money if you go that route and you're going to do it yourself. They're the RTA, they call them, cabinets, ready to assemble. But, I think maybe a place where it is worth flat pack cabinetry kind of style stuff is when it comes to outdoor barbecue stuff. Again, need to assemble, but there are barbecue companies that if you send them your kind of layout, they'll give you a design and they'll ship you like an aluminum frame. There are so many ways to do outdoor kitchens, right? You can frame boxes out of pressure treated lumber and then fill those kind of empty voids with stainless steel drawer systems or what have you. You could do concrete, you could do cinder block and stucco, or you could do these flat packed aluminum boxes. I think that might be the one scenario that it might be some value savings in that flat pack world.
Yeah, I don't get me wrong. I think that there's lots of great products out there that are flat packed. I think I'm suggesting that don't forget that you've got to, consider the cost of labor to put it together. That's really my point. And, this stuff really, it's the full gamut. There's some really, really cheap, poor quality stuff out there, but there's some nice products that just need to be assembled. You and I have put together vanities that were fantastic. My point here is it just takes time, and make sure you factor that in when you're looking at the total cost of that product. And steer away. If something sounds too good to be true, this is the old, it probably is. If you're buying your kitchen cabinets for $25 each, it's probably pretty garbagey.
Yeah, we've never done a flat pack kitchen or anything like that before. Maybe once in our career, I think someone wanted to do an IKEA kitchen, I believe.
We did a commercial project, if you recall, many years ago, where the work kitchen was flat packed, and we had to We actually hired someone specifically to assemble those. It
Oh,
was
no. Oh, yeah, that I do recall that. That was in San Francisco. That
That's
was
right.
a large project. Yeah. Yeah,
And
that
that's interesting, right? There are companies that specialize in assembly of IKEA type products. They do it all the time. They can do it super fast. Certainly, anytime you're doing a one-off, you've got to, spend time on each drawing in the manual, the installation manual. It's going to take more time than someone who does them all day long every day.
Yeah, I mean, that was a unique project. We had, I don't know, 150 IKEA desks that needed to be installed and put together. And like you said, there are people that is their only job is to do that kind of thing.
That's
So,
right.
yeah, but again, I think as far as moving in that direction, I feel like that might be something that I would want to look into as a savings for my own house and try it out, before we do something on a client's. It's always fun as contractors to try something out that you think might be a cost savings on your own place and see what the result might be. But I don't know.
My
We'll see.
my last thought here, just over the last couple of months, I've assembled a lot of these on a personal level. And while it is incredibly frustrating while you're doing it in general, there is a small amount of satisfaction, I think, when you're done and it comes together and it looks great. Is it worth it?
I'm
I'm not sure.
I mean, I'm one of those crazy people. Putting IKEA stuff together, it's somewhat soothing to me. I don't know. It drives you nuts, but I don't know what
For me,
category
that
you all
it's
fall
mowing the
into.
lawn. For you, it's an IKEA cabinet. I get it.
There you go. All right. Well, let's switch topics today. I'm going to talk about. We're going to kind of do things in a different alignment than we usually do, but I'm going to get into something interesting on a project here. We are at a project right now where we are building a ground level deck at the rear of a house. I'll paint the picture for you. Concrete patio, 2 steps down from a French door off the back of the house onto this concrete patio. And it's old concrete. It's cracked. It's really rough. They have young kids, and the kids keep playing back there and falling, scraping knees. And it's not like a super warm, inviting place. So we are building a deck that's between 12 and 18 inches off the ground. And code requires that you do not need a permit if your deck is less than 30 inches in height off of grade. So there we have it. We decided to move forward on this. I since we started our company in 2007, not once have we had an inspector come to a job site and question what was happening. I've never had that. I think, you and I, before we started our company and we worked for a large construction and engineering firm, it might have happened a couple of times. But not to us. This was a first. So a code enforcement agency heard compressors going off when they were checking out a job a block or so away, and they pulled over. And not everything goes according to plan in our world, and this is one of those stories I'm going to share with you guys. So, inspector says, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" I said, "Hey, we're building a ground level deck. It's less than 30 inches from grade. We don't have a permit." And he said, "Well, you might need a permit." And I said, "Explain to me why." And he said, "Well, can I come back and take a look?" I said, "Of course. Nothing to hide here." Inspector came back and he said, "How many square feet is this deck?" And I said, "It's approximately 250 square feet." And he said, "In this town, you are required to pull a permit if you are over 200 square feet." And I'm like, "You've got to be kidding me. We're 50 square feet over their number, and now I've got to go pull a permit. I've got to stop the job. I've got to tell the client we've got to pay a fee." What a pain in the butt this became. And the guy was real nice, and it was obvious we're not trying to pull one over on anybody. So I figured, what the heck? I'll go down to the building department. Let's get this over the counter permit and be on our merry way. Go down to the building department, talk to the building inspector. No problem. He has no problem with what we're doing. He wants me to draw out a site plan just so he can see everything. And then he said, "Just have planning approve what you're doing, and I'm good with everything, and we'll issue you the permit." Planner comes out and sees that our deck is getting built to the fence line, which is the property line. Tells me we are not allowed to build a deck within 5 feet of that property line. And I said, a ground level deck? And the answer was yes, a ground level deck. You cannot have decking to that property line. This became an issue. We had a plan set for our client. We kind of informed them that it wasn't necessary for a permit for something like this. And every town has a different code. And the planner actually told me that this was a new code, that we couldn't have decking to the fence. And then I said, what about, can I have a retaining wall? Or I read something about we can do that. She said, you can have a retaining wall on the property line as long as it's less than 3 feet tall. And I said, okay, I'm going to build a retaining wall that's 18 inches high. And can I fill it with gravel and put turf on it? Yes, you can. I said, that makes no sense to me. Please explain that to me. You're telling me that I can't build a deck to the fence. Why is that? The answer I got was, that's what the code says. And I believe it's because if you're standing on the deck, that fence becomes lower and you can see over the fence, and it's got something to do with, privacy issues, and every fence might be a little bit here, a little bit there. I said, I'm building this up with gravel and turf and standing on the same exact level, and that doesn't make sense. The point of this is a big overreach for any planning department. I mean, look, Pace, you're the one that's usually venting, but I got to tell you, this was really, really frustrating, and I couldn't get a straight answer. And I looked at the building inspector, and he just kind of said, "Hey, that's planning. I've got nothing to do with that. That's planning." Anyway, to make a long story short, there was no winning this argument, and it wasn't really an argument. I was just trying to get information. I wanted to know why that code made sense, and I couldn't get an answer. The answer was, that's what the code says. Unbelievable.
Yeah. So I love that it frustrates you. I love it. Let's just start with the easy stuff. This is overreach. I'm a big fan of code that supports safety where safety is needed. I'm a big fan of code that allows us, demands of us to build higher performance homes. I'm a big fan of those things. This is a code that no one, meaning us as the public, no one has asked for, right? This is, if you were to take a vote from the community, this would not pass. The vast majority of people would not support a permit required for this ground level deck. There is no, I would sit here and I would debate anybody on the planet and I would win. I'm a good debater, right? I understand code. There's no good reason for this code.
Look, I know there's a lot of code guys out there that understand this stuff, and maybe that person has an answer. I want to know what the answer is. That's all. Maybe there is a good reason. I can't foresee a good reason. I don't think you can foresee a good reason as why you could do one but not the other.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Tell me.
the idea that you could stand and look over the fence is the reason, right? That's one. The real reason is it's a money grab, right? This allows them to charge a fee for this construction. And again, I think that the building department is at the service of the community, right? It's there for a reason. Jurisdictions, and let's be clear, not every jurisdiction has a building department. Certainly not every jurisdiction has a planning department. They come into existence for the greater good. This is not serving the greater good. It's serving as a money generator, right? It's an additional permit that in our case is what? Just fill in the blank. It's about $1,000.
No, this permit was $1,850. I mean,
yeah. Well, I think just for scale, right? It's not $100. It's not $10,000. This is about $1,000. And that's the only logical reason for it to exist. I have a giant problem with that. When I talk about the building code going from 10,000 pages to, as step one, 5,000 pages. This is the sort of low-hanging fruit we start off with, right? This is the logical place to start. It's not helping the community. Therefore, it's got to go, right?
I will say this. I'm gonna say a good thing. The people in that building department and planning department were extremely helpful. They pushed through a permit that should normally take up to about 10 days, and they did it while I waited, which was really amazing. Now,
So
typically,
let me just put some nuance on that. What should be the case, right? Like what happened for you should be the case. So I will not let you use the word amazing. Now they were friendly, they accommodated you, and that's all very good stuff. But that should be the norm for something that shouldn't require a permit, right? And really is a back of the napkin sketch of a little square ground level deck. Like that should happen immediately. There should be no thought. It should be 15 minutes in and out. And you know what? I'm fresh back from Maine, so I need to tell a story. I went to renew my car insurance, my car registration in Maine, and no joke, walking into the town office and walking out was a 5-minute process. That process in California is 4 to 6 hours, right? That's the way it should be. Anyway,
well, I mean, in Maine, you walk in and they say, "Are you from over there?" And you say,
Yep.
"No, I'm from here." And they say,
Yep.
"Okay, thank you." And then you're
Yep.
done. I mean, that's how Maine works, right?
Thanks, bub.
Like we purposely don't allow you, Pace, to go into a building department because God knows what kind of explosions are going to happen. But I'll tell you what, this one scenario, I would have enjoyed to watch you respond to that planner. I mean, I don't think she really loved me by the end of our conversation, although everybody else, I think there was some love in the room, but man, it would have been interesting to be be a fly on the wall and watch you debate the planner there.
I'll tell you what, everybody on our side of the counter would have enjoyed it thoroughly. Everybody on the other side of the counter would have dreaded it.
Maybe we finish up the project and we just do a little field trip there and just try to get to the bottom of this.
I don't need to do any time in jail. All right. Let's talk about trees. Man, we had a couple of storms in Maine. I lost a couple of trees. This is such a great topic. I love trees, right? I think everybody does. Like that's such a weird statement, right? But I also love, I think I selected houses because of the setting on the property and trees around it, right? But man, the money that I have spent on trees over the years is crazy. One tree came down, took out the power lines. We were without power for a day, and it was a whole ordeal to get the power line, a new pole back up, and clear out the tree. I had another tree that snapped, and this is a giant 100-foot king pine, and it's threatening my house. It's hung up on another tree. We got to bring in a crane to bring it down, and we're talking a solid 5-figure ordeal here.
Hey.
It hurts, but man, I love the trees. The trees bring the bald eagles, right? They make the place just, oh man, but the money.
I hear you. You're talking about trees. I got a bit of a tree situation happening here in Marin County, and it's no joke. The Mediterranean oak borer beetle is making its way into our town. These things, I think once they get into the oak tree, they just start laying eggs and these things go to town and it will kill the tree. And we've got loads of oak trees where I live, and I have 2 huge ones on my property. I would say probably twice as expensive to remove if need be. And they thought it was going to take some time for these beetles to make their way over here, but they just discovered a tree at the bottom of my street, which is kind of one of the first ones that got hit. And I think they've sent a whole bunch of testing out to a company to just prove that that is the beetle that's getting to it. But oh my gosh, what a nightmare! I mean, in order to kind of fight this fight, I think we have to do some tree injections. I'm learning more about it. You've done a bunch of this in Maine and how to deal with this kind of thing. This is new to me. So anyway, I'm starting to dig into preventative measures to stop these beetles from infesting my oak trees and causing me to have to pay 20 to 25 grand and remove a tree. And it's part of the beautiful part of my property is having these trees.
Yeah. again, going back to Maine, there's been two big battles in my lifetime. Elm disease, which hit Maine and New England in the 70s, it took out, most of the elm trees in that region, and it was a giant blight. And in the end, we lost really all the elm trees. There's a few left, but like a whole tree species gone. The one that happened like 5 years ago was the brown-tailed moth, and I had it that affected oak trees mainly in Maine, and I lost so many oak trees on my property. I did the injections and I saved some, but it's so cost prohibitive. I ended up doing the injections myself. Um, but I mean, it's something that you've got to get ready. It's a battle, and you've got to be very proactive if you want to save the trees. I mean, each disease is a little bit different, and I'm curious, what it's going to mean for our area here. And it's something that as a company, we're going to probably want to think about. Can we be part of the solution here, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll keep you posted on how this evolves. We've been dealing with this in Tahoe too. I think I've removed almost 8 trees on my property due to beetle infestation, where they kill the firs up there, but or the pines. Anyway, yeah, it's a battle. We'll see what happens. Hopefully this injection stuff works. I don't know what sort of research has been done, how preventative it is, but I know there's constant research on this stuff.
Trees and boats. Everybody wants them, but man, they cost a lot of money.
Anyway, thanks everybody for joining us today on our podcast of Build Connected. I am Adam.
And I'm Pace.
Thank you.
See ya.
Thanks for joining us on Build Connected. For more stories, insights, and ideas, visit diamondhomerestoration.com or find us on Instagram and LinkedIn. We'll be back next week. We hope you will too.